keep coming on in. All right, guys. First, I want to thank you for taking time out of your evening. I'll try to be brief. The goal here, no pun intended, is to really dig into what goals and priorities actually mean to men of war. So I want to start off by, just saying that personal and professional development, it takes a special recipe. I tried to come up with a couple of words or phrases or themes from the Paragon, but I kept putting different variations together because when you think about it, just in all honesty, in my opinion, I think if you go by what Coach Rafa wrote in Redefining the 21st Century Man, you'll find that there is a special recipe for you, no matter which walk of life you come from. Now, I know many of you began reading Redefining 21st Century Man prior to the Crucible. And then there are some of us that have been around for a while and we read it after. Regardless of when you came into the society, if you're not familiar, if you've not gotten intimate with this book yet, I highly recommend it. So one of the things that I want you to ask yourself and think about it in your mind is, heading into the Crucible, who were you, right? Who were you heading into the Crucible? And then who are you today? Letting people in. So, if you ask me, and if I'm speaking for the Man of War Society, then I would say that we're men of action. I would say that we have to always exhibit strategic and tactical flexibility. And that goes throughout our journey. As I asked you before, where were you before the Crucible and who are you today? I bet they're two totally different people. And we'll get into that here in a minute. Now, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but part of who we are in the MLW involves leveling up. It's not acceptable to sit still. It's not acceptable to go backwards. We move forward, we grow, we strive, we may trip and fall, but we always get back up and we continue moving. So as you can see, these goal sheets, they're pretty standard and they do serve as a standard template to prioritize and track your goals. Now, when assessing what your goals should be, the one thing that is certain is that they're always going to be aligned, or they should always be aligned with your purpose. Because if they're not aligned with your purpose and you're not following who you were destined to be, then why do you have goals to begin with? Now, I know some of you do take this seriously and it shows. And then there are others that don't take it seriously and it shows. So if you're not growing, I'll ask you this: why are you here? So, I'm a firm believer in right-sizing goals, and I don't believe that anybody should have more than 3 active goals at any one time. The reason I believe this is because if you do have more than 3 goals going on at once, that they're probably more task-related, or you're spreading yourself too thin. And when you do spread yourself too thin, kind of like this guy spinning plates, you start to lose focus. You start to lose sight of what's important. You start to lose sight of your where you're going, your purpose, your vision. You start to get distracted because you're going all over the place. And and quite frankly, your performance, it'll suffer. And those that are around you will suffer as a result. Things will start falling through the cracks. And ultimately, you let others down who depend on you. So, that doesn't mean, like I said before, well, it doesn't mean that you can't have more than 3 goals. Notice the key word that I said is active. Because as you go throughout your journey, you'll see in the next slide that you've got to have a vision of where you're going. You must understand, and that purpose, why you're here on earth, should be tied to that vision. And so what we want to do is we want to take a series of steps in our journey. And so as I look at this picture, I think we're going to stay on the slide for a little bit. I believe that a picture can say 1,000 words. Now, if you take a few minutes and you just kind of survey the scene, you see I planted flags in different areas. And if I point here over here, just kind of imagine that this is the crucible, right? So kind of going into the crucible, knowing who you were then, who you were coming out of it. Our goal as cadre are to really guide you towards connecting with your purpose, because we find that if you're connected with your purpose, your vision, it will become inspirational for you and, again, those around you. This is really what we aim to uncover during the crucible. We want to uncover, we want you to harness, and we want to forge these type of characteristics into who you are as a warrior. And so if you look at kind of is somebody drawing? Can y'all see it on the screen?
Yes.
Anyways, we'll just go. As you can see, your purpose is ultimately what's going to drive you. This is a little phrase and a saying that I have: purpose-driven, vision-inspired. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me aligned. It keeps me focused. And when we kind of look at goals and where they're going, as you can see, heading out of the crucible, scaling that first foothill, what you'll find with mountains, and forgive me because I get excited by mountains because I grew up where it's really flat. But if you look at this series of mountains, you'll notice some foothills, and you'll see a first tier, a second tier, and then in some cases, in the very back, the third tier. Well, I place these flags to represent our journey and how we start, because not all goals are created equal. Brothers, we are all at different stages of our life, personally, professionally. We come from different walks of life. And so what may be a goal for one brother might be more of a task for another brother that's been well established or has had a ton of experience, right? It doesn't matter. But the point that I'm trying to make here is we start from somewhere. And as we get into the habit, we start getting into a pattern. We start creating a system. We have to have priorities that are aligned. We do have to have these systems that will help us execute. And so the better you get at executing, you'll notice the further your milestones that you're creating to get to each one of your goals starts getting bigger and bigger. Hence what I mean, some things that are goals, some goals for some might be tasks for others. That just means they might be a little further in their journey. So remember, remaining aligned with your purpose here, it requires your discipline. It requires you to have discipline. And your discipline is ultimately what's going to give you the freedom to stay the course and get to your summit, your vision of where and who you were designed to be. So when it comes to goals, and I mentioned systems, I would take some great advice from a philosopher and artist and badass, Bruce Lee. I'm not going to quote what you see here, but I'm going to quote another quote he mentioned, and it says, "Willing is not enough. We must do." Therefore, it's important that we imprint bulletproof habits, right? Coach Rafa talks about bulletproof habits and redefining the 21st century man. We have to be able to develop those bulletproof habits to a state where we're operating unconsciously. It's second nature. We don't have to think about it. We're practicing, we're getting these repetitions in so many times that it does become second nature. And in my case in point, from personal experience, in a former life, I was a baseball player, and I knew that, and I learned that in order to correct a bad habit in your swing, it takes about 10,000 swings. just so happens that it aligns with Bruce Lee's quote here, about practicing one kick 10,000 times. But it's true. But it only takes one swing to develop a bad habit. You get fooled by a pitch, you get off balance, and now you're balanced and you're now hitting on your front foot. That will create that'll create a bad habit that will throw a kink in your game. It's kind of like seeing those home run sluggers in the home run derby. If you watch their first half of the major league season, most of the time they're on a tear. They're jacking balls out of the park like nobody's business. They're hitting 300. It just seems effortless to them. But when they get into that home run derby, they start thinking about hitting 500-foot home runs. They start, thinking about how many a row can I hit. And they start cranking these balls out. And they might hit 7, 8, 10 in a row, however many they hit. But in the process, they do create these bad habits. And it's because they lose focus of what's actually important. It's not the home run derby. It's the championship at the end of the season that they help their team win. So when they do leave the All-Star game and this home run derby, they may have won an individual prize as the home run king, but home run derby king. But I'd say it's about 99% of the time that these guys that go into those home run derbies, they typically go into a slump for about 6 weeks after. And that's because they created that bad habit with one swing. So kind of getting back to discipline too of Coach Rapa's book, Redefining the 21st Century Man. He does talk again about imprinting bulletproof habits. So when we do talk about repetitions, I'm not just saying, lazy repetitions. Your repetitions, they need to be quality as it pertains to your goals. In repetitions, I want you to think about the priorities that you set, how you prioritize your goals, the systems that you put in place, bulletproof habits. Another and as you guys know and are well aware of, that our goal sheets are based off the SMART goal framework. So you combine that with Coach Rafa's bulletproof habits. There's also another book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, that I found very useful because it speaks to a lot of what Coach Rafa speaks to. It talks about getting into the systems, breaking down your goals, because if you don't have a system to help you achieve those milestones and set that consistency and establish that discipline, then your goals are just going to be dreams, right? And then lastly, for a more tactical approach, something that is system related, at least for me, I like to call it Coach Serna's 7 things. And it's the 7 things that I have to do every day for me in my journal. And I number them out, I list them out. And the way that they go is, I wake up and I give my morning gratitude, a prayer, my time with God. I journal, and then I step through a daily devotional. What's interesting about that is the system that works for me is seeking God first. And the way that I go about doing that is I dedicate my first waking moments to God and clearing my mind. And when I get to that devotional, I don't know, God works in mysterious ways. A lot of what I journal, God reveals and he connects what I was journaling. And it's super powerful for me, and it makes me want to seek and align with my purpose more. So kind of going on to the 4th thing, I confirm my day's calendar and schedule, and I look at my email to see if there's anything that needs to pop up that I need to add into my day. So I want to make sure that I understand what I'm walking into. And from there, I visualize what aspects of the Paragon that I need to embody in order to execute on my to-dos. Do I need to be a mentor? Do I need to be a savage? Do I need to be a visionary? Do I need to exhibit Giri or Makoto? Or do I need to apply Kaizen to a process that I need to improve at work? All of these things in every aspect of the Paragon there's something in the Paragon that can help you execute what you need to do throughout the day. So that's another thing that I do, right? And so from there, I like to take down or write down what I'm going to do for exercise, and then lastly, I make sure that I read. So these are 7 things. It works for me. I'm not saying it'll work for you. But what I'm suggesting is to identify a system that will help you with consistency, discipline, and execution, right? A strategy without the ability to execute is worthless. And you've got to be able to execute. How do you do that? Discipline, purpose, and aligning with your vision. So kind of wrapping up, what I want to do is take a second for you guys to read this quote. I love quoting, and I was trying to find something that was different. And as it pertains to goals and who I was as a man before going into the crucible and who I am now, I'll tell you that going into the crucible, I was the latter in this quote. I was weak and I had dreams, and there were times where I showed flashes of executing. And at work, I was a high performer, but I sucked, man. At home, I was worthless. But going into the crucible, it it showed me exactly who I am, what I have inside me, and it lit a fire in me. And I'll be damned if I ever go back to being that weak man that I was, because I buried that bitch in blackout phase on the beach. And if that bitch voice ever tries to come back, you got to rely on your discipline. You got to rely on your commitment to excellence. Arete, right? And if you find yourself wavering from your goals, your commitment to living a life as a man of war, reach out to a brother. Reach out to a brother so that way he can help give you some guidance and a kick in the nuts, because that's probably what you need. We're not, we're not here to pamper. We're here to improve. And when iron sharpens iron, there's nothing soft about that, right? So, guys, that's what I had for you this evening. I wanted to focus on a couple of key points, and I really wanted to drill in on those. I'm going to pause there for a second, and I need to stop my screen share so I can open up the lines. So of what I've spoken to today, does anybody have any questions? Does it make sense? Does it resonate? Is it confusing? What I want to make sure we're doing is we're diving into this topic and addressing it. Yeah, Michael Elmore, go ahead, brother.
Man, Coach Cerner, that's fantastic. Thank you. So when it comes to systems of habit, I'm actually rereading the Atomic Habits book currently. So I'm glad I'm on track there. Just to make sure that I'm on track with what you said about your 7 things. Maybe I didn't have them aligned, but 1 through 7, correct me if I'm wrong. 1, wake up. 2, gratitude. 3, journal. 4, devotion. 5, confirm today's schedule. 6, exercise. 7, read.
Pretty close. So as part of waking up, that's my gratitude, right? So gratitude prayer, journaling, then my daily devotional. Then I confirm what I need to do throughout the day. Then I visualize or I embody any aspect of the Paragon that aligns with what I need to be doing throughout the day. So again, if I need to have a difficult conversation, do I need to be a mentor with a little bit of savage mixed in? Perhaps. But you'll be able to really resonate or connect with that whenever you get to that point. Once you become intimate with the redefining the 21st century man, and more importantly, the Paragon. You'll be able to, as Coach Arnold mentioned the other day, operate in more of a Rex mode to where it becomes fluid. And that's what Coach Rafa talks about, is the ability to shift, from a state of mind perspective. Do you need to be present? Do you need to be focused? Do you need to be present and focused at the same time? It's possible, right? So good question. And
Okay.
again, from there, sorry about that. I went and dovetailed a little bit. From there, I note what I did for exercise. And then lastly, I do some reading, or since I'm a cybersecurity guy, I sometimes do training because that requires a lot of reading as well.
Got it. Okay, awesome. And then, man, excuse my ignorance. I'm always a man of trying to just be better and understand things as they come. And man, 2 years from now, I'm going to kick myself once I go back and watch this recording. Please define the Paragon.
So the Man of War, yeah, very good. So the Man of War Paragon is going to be essentially every aspect. So we come in here, we take a look. It'll say, you got your book, right?
Yes, sir. No, I don't have it on me, but yes, sir, I do have it.
Oh man, you always got to have it on you. So it's a protocols 1 through 4 right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Right here. All right.
Gotcha.
At a high level, protocols 1 through 4. Each one of them, you'll be able to go in, assess whether it's, pragmatic leadership, it's 5 states of mind. So 1 through 4, you're going to be able to really dig in. So at a high level, that's your definition.
Got it. Thank you, Coach Turner. Awesome message. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Thoughts? Feedback? All right, brothers.
Hey, Coach, real quick. Sorry to jump right on the tail end of that. I just got one thing to get out.
Go ahead.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity, Coach Cerna. Well, I just kind of wanted a little clarification. Now, some of the problems I have with purpose goals, purpose is somewhat emotional to me. Not how I'm going to do a lot of things, working on that. So, and then what I want to touch on is how you had 3 active goals is too many goals.
No. Not 3. Not 3. Up to 3 is fine, right? If you have more than 3, yeah.
Now, could you focus on calling it more of a mission, for lack of a better way to put it, but a mission as one ultimate goal, and then all the micro goals underneath it to reach one mission? If you have one mission, I can stay focused. ADHD, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. If I have 3 goals in a day, I go all over the place. So I focus a little more on a mission and then micro goals in my day to accomplish the mission. Gonna have to pivot, gonna have to do stuff. It's just the way I learn to focus. And so I just wondered what your thoughts were on something like that.
Yeah, I think we're speaking the same language. I think we're using different terminology. So when it comes to micro goals and mission, mission is almost interchangeable with purpose, right? So why are you here on this earth? Now, understanding why you're here, understanding what your mission in life is, that's you on your way to fulfilling who God destined you to be, what your purpose is, right? When it comes to goals or micro goals, when I say 3 active goals, I don't mean you're working on all 3 at the same time all day. What I mean is those flags that I showed on the mountains, those were different milestones. And at the summit of each one of those was a different colored flag. That's a goal, right? So you're pursuing, but doesn't mean that you're working on all of them at the same time. And what I mean by that is, let's say I want to purchase a Major League Baseball franchise in my lifetime. Well, that can't be my first goal because I don't have the money to do that right now.
Right.
So why would I prioritize that first?
Absolutely.
So that's what I mean in
That's
terms
where
of prioritization, right? So
Right.
when it comes to your goals, and when I say 3 at one time, so purchasing a Major League Baseball franchise, that's a big ass goal, right? But it's not a goal, it's not a realistic goal for me today.
Mhm.
So a
Mhm.
realistic goal for me today is to acquire, multiple e-commerce businesses, right? So that's part of what I do.
Gotcha.
But later on, when purchasing a Major League Baseball franchise becomes attainable, then those smaller purchases are going to be more task oriented because it's not something I'm reaching up to. It's something that I've got in my grasp.
Okay, I understand. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, you're welcome. Mr. Johnson, what's up, brother?
I'm doing good. Yeah, good. Not just learning a lot. Had a long conversation today with another coach, and he brought you up to talk to you. And I'm in a transitional state with my company, and so a lot of this stuff pertains, but it's really cloudy for me, if that makes sense. Everything you say makes sense, but I feel like I'm playing darts in the dark. I know exactly where I'm trying to go. I just don't know where the next steps are to make it happen. So when I'm setting these goals, and I've been spending a lot of time working on this because it was a perfect time for me to be doing this, I get lost in the minutia. And where I'm struggling is okay, I know where I want to go. I know my next, but I don't know how to get those next steps put in place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So as I'm setting up those goals, I'm just floundering. My company's fine, but I'm floundering. It's not growing, it's not shrinking, it's just fucking sitting there. Excuse my language, but and so now as we're getting to that point, I'm trying to set these goals to make them realistic, not real, maybe a little bit hard to attain, not a little bit, very hard to attain, but still making progress. How do you work through that minutia to really nail it down and make it clear cut?
So let me ask you, so it sounds like these are goals as it relates to business. Is that right?
Some of them, but yes, mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
So-
ones I'm talking about.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot to unpack from your persona as a personality type to what you're actually looking to accomplish. What you've given me so far is very high level, but if I try to look into that, then something that comes to mind is you know what to do, but you don't know where to get started. You may be a little analytical, and you may be like thinking about too many things. So right now, what I would suggest is to simplify. Coach Arnold does simplification the best out of anybody that I know. He makes things simple. I try to do what he does. Some people say that I can make complex problems simple, but Coach Arnold is another great resource as well. So when it comes to what you're trying to accomplish, the way that my mind works is I like to take a step back, and I like to understand. I survey. I like to understand or assess what's in front of me, look at different obstacles, what are opportunities. I like to actually go through a SWOT analysis for me, but not everybody thinks the way that I do. So I think what would be good is for us to just have a short chat, so that way we can get you pointed in the right direction, and you can get to running.
I would appreciate that. That'd be great.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Chase Powell. What's up, brother?
Hey, Coach. Yeah, I wanted to apologize. I don't know how, but my fault. I thought this was at 6:15, not 6, and I apologize. I appreciate you letting me in, and I was just going to see if I could get a copy of the recording because I missed the first 15 minutes, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, let me stop the recording. But yeah,